Hi everyone! In this video I am going to review a set of Rae Morris magnetic brushes. Now if you aren't familiar, Rae Morris is an Australian makeup artist and she has her own line of makeup brushes, including magnetic makeup brushes. And you might think, why do makeup brushes need to be magnetic? Well, I will show you. This is why they should be magnetic. And no, it's not a trick. They are not glued onto this piece. They each have magnets on the bottom of each handle for the brush. And this thing here right here is called the Rae plate. It is a steel plate, and that allows you to stand up your brushes so that you can access them and look at them like this. So as always, if you want to see a written review or if you just want to see photos that I've taken that are really up close for the brushes, then I will put a link to the review at allurabeauty.com in the description box below. Otherwise, in this video, I will be detailing each individual brush for you, as well as giving you my thoughts on what I think about this whole setup here. So if you're interested in these brushes, then stay tuned. Okay, so I have a set of 6 of the brushes. Now you can buy each of these brushes at Rae Morris's website online, or you can buy certain sets of makeup brushes that she offers, and then you can buy the plate separately also. And I will detail for you the pricing information for each of the brushes as we go through them. I'm just gonna go through each brush from smallest to largest that I have. So the smallest brush that I have here is the Precision Bent Liner brush. And compared to the size of my hand, you can see how thin and tiny it is. Again, if you want to see really macro shots of each brush, those are available at the link that I'll put in this description box below. But take my word for it that this is a super, super thin liner brush. And it's not only thin already, which is fantastic for creating a super thin and smooth line, but it tapers toward the end, so it's even more narrow at the tip and the end of the brush than it is at the base. And I have tried my fair share of liner brushes for cream and gel liners, and this one is the best one that I've ever tried. It's super easy to control the line that you get, and you just always get a very smooth, straight, very thin line. And of course, if you want a thicker line, then you can do that manually by layering the lines that you apply. But it really creates this pinpoint precision line that allows you to create a lot of different looks, especially for when you're trying to get right at the base of the lash line, or for someone like me who doesn't have a lot of space around the eye area. It's hard to work with a lot of brushes that are larger or create a thicker line because I don't have a lot of space for a liner to be taken up. So a liner brush like this is really useful for me. This brush is $20 and it is made with synthetic bristles. Okay, so the next brush that we have here is the lip brush. They are also all numbered if that is helpful to you. So this bent liner brush is number 15 and the lip brush is number 19. So as you can see, this is a squared brush here. And again, just to give you an idea of the size, that's it compared to the palm of my hand. And so it's a very flat brush. And again, it is made with synthetic bristles. It does have some give to it, but it does also have stiffness to be able to apply lip products. I don't often apply lip products with a brush. In fact, I almost never do. I think just mostly out of laziness, try to apply it from the tube. And for the website, I always apply lip colors with the tube or not with a brush because I want people to be able to see what it would look like if they applied it from the tube. But if you are working with highly intensely colored or pigmented bold lip shades, this is a fantastic brush for applying them because the very flat edge of this brush gives a very sharp line at the border of your lip. And the length of this brush makes it really easy to then go ahead and fill in the rest of the lip without dipping back and forth into the lipstick too often. And you get a very smooth line on the edge. Most lip brushes that I have tried or that I own are domed or curved at the end, but this kind of brush, this design, makes it really nice to get a smooth, crisp line. And this lip brush is $24. All right, next up we have the Deluxe Point Shader Brush, and this is number 7. This retails for $39, and that's how large it is. So you can see that it is tapered. It goes down to a narrow point at the end, and this is made with squirrel hair. I also wanted to mention, for many of you, of the viewers who care about using cruelty-free products, all of the brushes in Rae Morris's line are also cruelty-free. Now, this is actually, from my eyes, it looks to be a pretty large brush. But the thing with this is that it's pretty fluffy, and it creates the most beautifully diffused look on the eyes. So it does taper down to a narrow point. So even though I have a pretty thin crease area, I don't have a lot of room either on my lid or in my crease, this brush still is really nice for my crease area, I think because it tapers down to this narrow point here. And the thing that I love about this brush is that it, even before you start blending, it applies a diffused layer of eyeshadow. So you don't have to do a lot of buffing and a lot of layering. Now, I guess the flip side of that is if you're looking for a more intense, dense layer of eyeshadow color, you're not going to get it with this brush, because the brush applies shadow in a diffused, blended out manner. The bristles are also incredibly soft on the skin, so it's very, very pleasant to use. And honestly, it's one of the most effortless crease brushes to use because it just, like I said, before you even start doing any work, the brush has already applied an already diffused layer of color. So it's very, very easy to get a nice blended out look in the crease with this brush. All right, next up is the Cream Shadow Shader. This is brush 8.5, and it is made also with natural hair, and it is white goat hair. It is also very soft, but it's much more densely packed than the crease brush that we just looked at. You can see that it is fairly flat, both on this plane and I guess on this plane, but what I meant to say is that it's flat this way, and then it has a domed shape. Now, this is the brush that I guess I thought wouldn't make that much of a difference for applying cream shadows, but makes a huge difference. I've always been someone who applies cream colors to my lids with my fingers and just have blended out. I've used brushes a few times before, but I've always found that they're either too stiff and they just drag the shadow instead of buffing it out nicely, or they're too flimsy and they just bend and they don't actually move the product around on the lids. This is a phenomenal brush for applying cream shadows, and I'm really glad that I found it because cream colors look a lot better applied with this brush than they do on my lids when I try to use my finger. The thing with applying the cream shadows with your finger is that it's really hard to blend the edges out in a smooth way, the way you would want to with powder shadow and with a brush. But this brush is densely packed enough and is stiff enough while still being soft to the touch to be able to buff out or blend out cream colors through the crease really nicely. And even if you're just sort of packing it onto the lid, it applies it in a much smoother layer than it does when I use my finger. So another brush that I was very impressed with that I didn't think would make that much of a difference, but really does. And this brush is $29. Next, we have the medium oval shadow brush, and this is brush 11, and you can see that it is also a domed brush, but it is flat, and this is made with natural squirrel hair, and again, it is just as soft as the crease brush that we looked at. And in fact, these two brushes are made with the same type of hair, so they feel just as nice on the lids. And once again, when I saw this brush, I thought, this is a pretty large brush for the eye area, especially with eyes like mine that don't have a lot of surface area to them. But just like with the crease brush, this is a good size to get color all over the lids without having to like go in sections and pack it on. But the other thing is that it applies shadow in a more diffused manner, which is really nice. Now again, if you're looking to do something like a cut crease where you need pigment to be padded on in a really dense manner or in a very crisp line, this is not the brush for that. But for my purposes, I very rarely do a cut crease or a really strong line. So this is perfect for my needs for every single day, even if I do a more dramatic smoky eye, but I want diffused color and colors that meld into each other without looking really stark or sudden transitions. So again, very pleasant to use, pretty fast to use just because it is a larger brush, but it also has a nice diffused layer of color that you get on the lids. And this brush retails for $39. And last up we have the mini kabuki brush, and this is the number 2 brush. This is made with the natural goat hair, and you can see that it is like a miniature version of a kabuki brush. It is tapered and becomes much more narrow at the end, and again, super soft on the skin. This brush is wonderful for using in smaller areas of the face or for detail work. You can use it for larger planes of the face, it just takes a little longer. So I have used this before for all over bronzing, like over my forehead and just all over the face, but it is more suited for smaller areas. So what this is perfect for is for applying highlighter to the cheeks or down the bridge of the nose or on top of the cupid's bow, or for doing contouring work under the cheekbone and bronzing in that area. The other thing you can use this for is for applying powder to set any under eye concealer that you have used. And again, very soft, very pleasant to use. And this brush retails for $30. And I'm not sure if I showed you very clearly, but that's kind of the size that this kabuki brush is. And now to tell you about the Ray plate, and you can see that her logo is there on this matte surface. So this is a steel plate. It's rectangular, has rounded edges. It also has these very short rubberized feet on the other side. So the plate itself is not magnetic, the magnets are on the brushes, but as you can tell, it acts as a surface that the brushes can stand on. It also comes with this felt sort of traveling sleeve that you can put it in if you want to travel with this and kind of keep it away from dust and such. And it is pretty weighty just because of the material that it's made of. And as you could see, it effectively acts as a stand for the brushes. Now, the one thing that I will say is that if you move the plate too suddenly, you can see that the magnetic is not quite that strong to keep it on there through like an earthquake or something, or if you happen to jar the plate. But for most people's purposes, they will have it on a flat surface that's pretty stable. And this is an innovative way to keep brushes in a way that's convenient and practical and sanitary. I was looking for the right word. Sanitary and very unique and interesting. I find that it's hard in the makeup industry to come out with something that's truly new and innovative without being gimmicky or without it being more of an inconvenience than the traditional way to do things, like new mascaras that you have to do weird things with that are new but just not that practical. This is a wonderful example of something that is new and creative while being useful and not being gimmicky at all. The reason why this is an advantage is, like I mentioned before, it keeps your brushes in a way that you can see all of them at the same time. I know all of us, or most of us, have a bunch of brushes and we keep them, you know, in a cup or in some sort of jar, and they're all jumbled together and you rummage through them to try to find the brush that you want. This is a way that keeps the brushes in a way that you can see them all at the same time. You know which one you want. You can easily pluck it off the steel plate, and when you're done with it, you put it back. Practically speaking, I think for makeup artists or freelancers who also travel, it's a nice way to keep the brushes sanitary. So instead of laying them out on the counter or, you know, leaving them on top of some makeup container or whatnot, it's nice to have them stand upright like this. The other really cool thing about this plate is that if you wanted to dry your brushes, you could suspend this between, let's just say, like 2 boxes and have it upside down. And this is a perfect way to dry your brushes. And as you probably know, you often, when your brushes are wet, want to have them upside down or at least not upright, because you don't want the water to get into the ferrule and damage the glue that holds the bristles in the ferrule. So this is a pretty cool way. I haven't personally used it this way yet, but as you can see, it would be an effective way where the brushes don't fall off. So this is just a super cool way to display and have your brushes. And the brushes that I have here, of course, these aren't the only brushes Rae Morris has. She has a ton of other ones. But the brushes that I have here, I have washed and used many, many times. And I don't have any problems with the bristles falling out. I haven't had any problems with dye running out of the brushes. So I also wanted to mention that for people wondering how well they wash. And you know what? Overall, these brushes are, even when you take them out of the package, they each come in their own like plastic package that you rip open and you take them out. You can just tell from feeling them that they are going to be very high quality. And when you actually use them and test them, they don't disappoint. I also wanted to mention that each brush has sort of like a wood, very dark wood designed handle on each of them. And they're all very lightweight. So they look like they might be kind of heavy, but they are very light. Now, these are expensive brushes. I mean, especially, for example, having like a $39 eyeshadow brush. That's pricey, but a lot of us are spending a lot of money on brushes as it is. MAC, for example, has a lot of brushes that are pretty expensive, but the quality, even in MAC's line, doesn't compete with the quality of these brushes. And I have my fair share of MAC brushes along with low-end, affordable, even drugstore brand brushes. It's hard to convey on a camera when you're not able to interact with these brushes or use them how fantastic these brushes are. And I'm not being paid for the video or anything like that. These are just brushes that you want to use. I have them on my counter in my bathroom, in my makeup area, and I use them pretty much every day. So if you're going to be spending money on brushes anyway, and you are someone who's interested in higher end, very high quality brushes, I would definitely check out Rae Morris's brushes and see for yourself how good they are. So I hope that that was helpful to you if any of you were interested in these brushes and wondering if they were worth it, or even if you haven't heard of the line before, now you know. I hope that this video was interesting for you. Thanks for taking the time to watch. I hope you subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up. I'll be bringing you more beauty stuff soon. See ya in the next video. Bye. Sephora will be having its VIB sale, which it has annually. It is going to be for 20% off your entire order. There's pretty much no exceptions. There aren't any brands that are being excluded from the sale or anything like that. So if you want to know what the coupon code is and where you can go for the sale, that information will be in the description box below. What I'm going to do in this video is 2 things.